Your boy. In recent news, if you haven't heard, earlier this week, the jobs report dropped. Turns out there's more unemployed people in the United States of America than there are job openings. Now, that's probably the worst sentence you've heard all week. I know it was for me. I would like to start with a short little story. I had a sticker on a chair that said, "Eat steak, the West wasn't won on salad." Now, my grandpa, as I called him, he sees this sticker and he says, "When you figure out that the West was won on a tool that put fences into the ground and not salad, then you'll really understand what goes on in the world." And I thought, well, I mean, it's just a post driver, right? And he's like, "You'll find out one day, you'll find out." What was I looking into? So I was looking into the history of eugenics, right? And I find myself looking at this interesting fellow whose name I recognized. He was actually the brother of an author. It led me on a little bit of a rabbit hole, and it seems to have originated in the 1600s. And, well, what could possibly have happened in the 1600s that caused people to think they are superior to others? Well, we'll have to go back to the 1200s, the 13th century. So we find ourselves in the 13th century, the 1200s. The Magna Carta is being signed by King John I. He got his butt whooped in war by some barons, and the barons were like, "Hey, we can either cut your head off, or you can give us some stuff. Either way, we get the stuff." So he signs the Magna Carta, not thinking about the consequences of his action. Anyways, fast forward back to the 1600s, the 17th century by my estimations, and you find yourself with a King James I. Now, King James recently rose to the throne, and in 1604 he has to give a little birthday present to the nobles, and finds himself signing the Enclosure Act. So what the Enclosure Act does is it puts fences into the ground. It portions off land that used to be what was called common land. And common land was land that nobody owned. It was just common. Everyone shared the common land. You could go out to the common land and do as you wish. It's like a national park, but you can farm on it, right? Yeah, that kind of works. You didn't have that anymore. The peasants that lived on this common land, and the only thing they had was the land and the labor they mixed in with it to produce their living. King James I, with his big head, says, no more common land. We're going to parcel parts of this off, and it'll be for the nobles. Like, oh no, we gotta go somewhere else now. So they go to the cities, and then in the cities they don't have any land to mix with their labor, and so they end up with no land to mix with their labor. So they have to sell their labor, and they're left with nothing. They were seen on the streets as unproductive people because what they did, produce food, they just couldn't do anymore. They got put into factories. You know, the Industrial Revolution started in the 1600s. It wasn't the invention of the steam engine. It was the invention of the factory. You had all these people that were, by all measures, refugees. In the cities, they were looked down upon as useless and unproductive, and they got put to work. And there's essays that have been written about the horrible things that were done in these factories. They brought in pocket watches to test the clocks. Then the pocket watches got confiscated, and you know, all they have is this factory job where they're working looms, and that's dangerous itself. So that's really the origin of employment. And if you're exploiting something, well, that's capitalizing, isn't it? This private property thing, it really caught on, and so everyone's doing it. And soon enough, everyone owns every piece of land. Fast forward to today, when we have more unemployed people than we do job openings in the United States of America. What if we brought back day labor as like a normal thing? And I know that's kind of like a spicy conversation topic, because you know, with the way things are in the politics world, the people who are being eugenicized and deemed as useless are the ones who are doing the day labor. But if we made day labor an industry standard, and even just one industry, with agriculture or fast food, day labor was very common until, you know, people started getting exploited. Just show up to the field, you say, I want to work, and it's like, okay, all right, we'll work, yeah. And the culture was a lot different back then. You could take breaks as you needed to. It wasn't like you had a manager constantly breathing down your throat. Hey, you need to be doing this right now. Hey, can you do this for me? It was like, hey, I'm talking to my buddy right now. We're talking about, you know, like, I don't know, what gruel Gertrude's making up, I suppose. Yes, the tavern wench is very, very delightful to see. The culture shifted, and now we have this culture that stems from the factories of exploited people, where that was their only prospect, was they could sell their labor because they didn't have the land to work. And I know there's a lot of nuance that I'm missing out, but I feel like I'm painting a pretty good picture here of how it used to be. Everything's bureaucratized. You gotta wait 2 or 3 weeks before you get a paycheck, and man, it's just like, if you need money now, you can't. You go in, you spend an hour filling out the application, and then they'll call you and they'll say, hey, do you want to be employed here? And it's like, yeah, I'll take whatever I can get. And then still, you have to stay in good standing with these companies. It's not you don't just start working, right? You either gotta, you can't just start working. That's the thing. You can't immediately have something in your hands to take home, because you know, you gotta wait. So if you need something right now, you gotta find a job, you gotta wait the 2 weeks, and you know, it's not as good as it used to be, right? You know, back before the majority of the economy was 8 technology companies that, you know, don't hardly employ anyone, and just kind of bolster the numbers because they're selling ads to people that the economy's bogus, I suppose.